Hello and welcome. Today, we're going to dive into something we all do every single day, but let's be honest, not many of us have truly mastered it: the art of dialogue. Using some amazing insights from Kareem Al-Shazly, we're going to break down how to have conversations that actually go somewhere instead of just going in circles. So let me start with a question for you. Why is it that so many of our big, important conversations, with family, friends, people at work, why do they so often just crash and burn? We end up talking past each other, nobody feels heard, and we walk away feeling even further apart. Well, it's usually because we're playing the wrong game entirely. And that really brings us to the core of the problem. You see, there's a huge difference between a dialogue and a debate. A dialogue is all about expanding the view for everyone. It's like we're both looking at a puzzle together, trying to see the bigger picture. A debate, though, that's a battle. It's a zero-sum game where the only goal is to win, which means, by definition, someone has to lose. So, if we actually want to get better at this, we have to start with the right foundation. And really, it all comes down to one single powerful shift in how we think. It's not about proving that you're right. It's about everyone involved walking away seeing things just a little more clearly. This is so important. The real measure of a successful conversation isn't whether you manage to change someone's mind. Nope. Success is when both of you leave with a bigger, more nuanced perspective than you had when you started. You don't have to end up agreeing, but you should both understand a little more. Okay, so that's the big idea, the foundation. But let's get practical. How do we actually pull this off? Well, it comes down to getting really good with a few key tools. And we're going to start with the most powerful one of all. And here it is. This is probably the biggest game changer. Most of us, when we're listening, are not really listening at all. We're just hearing sounds while our brain is frantically cooking up our comeback, our next killer point. We're just waiting for a pause so we can jump in. Real listening, true listening, is about silencing that voice in your head and focusing completely on understanding where the other person is coming from. We can actually break this down into 3 simple steps. First, you have to fight that urge to speak, that little itch to interrupt and grab the spotlight. Second, your entire mission is just to understand their logic. Why do they think what they think? And third, and this is huge, you only get your turn to speak after you've given them the respect of finishing their thought completely. There's this incredible story about the Prophet Muhammad. A man came to him and just went on this long, long speech full of criticisms and arguments. The Prophet didn't say a word. He didn't interrupt, he didn't fidget, he just listened patiently. And only when the man finally ran out of steam did he calmly ask, "Are you finished?" I mean, that level of self-control and respect, that's the gold standard. All right, on to tool number 2, your language. Because once it is your turn to speak, the words you choose can literally build a bridge or just burn it to the ground. Your words can be like honey, drawing people in, or they can be venom, pushing them away. The poet Ibn al-Rumi just nailed this. Think about it. When you want to praise honey, you call it the nectar of the bee. Sounds lovely, right? But if you want to make it sound gross, you could call it the vomit of the wasps. It's the exact same stuff, but the words you wrap around it change everything. That's the power of framing. And now for our third tool. This one is a brilliant strategic move. It's like a bit of conversational judo. Before you even think about jumping into what you disagree on, always, and I mean always, start by finding something you do agree on. This instantly changes the vibe from a fight to a collaboration. So, how does this work in real life? Well, as you're listening, just hunt for one thing, anything that you can genuinely agree with. You could say something like, I completely agree with you that X is a major problem. Or, that's a really valid point you made about Y. You build that little bridge first. And only then do you gently say, but here's where I might see it a little differently. It just shows you're fair, that you're not here to attack. Now let's get even more strategic about this. A really skilled conversationalist knows that you can't have the same discussion with everyone. You got to know your audience and, this is key, set realistic goals. A one-size-fits-all approach is a recipe for failure. Basically, you can put people into 3 groups. You've got the opponent, who is dead set against your view. You've got the neutral, who's on the fence. And you've got the ally, who's already on your team. Your goal has to be different for each one. For an opponent, you're not trying to convert them. Your goal is just to neutralize their hostility. For a neutral, sure, you're trying to persuade. And for an ally, you're just reinforcing what they already believe. And this is so critical. If you set the wrong goal, you're just setting yourself up for frustration. Trying to get a diehard opponent to completely flip their position in one chat is, as the source so beautifully puts it, like trying to tile the sea. It's impossible. A much more realistic and strategic goal is to just get them to see that your view has some merit. That is a massive win. Okay, this brings us to our final and honestly most important section. We've talked tools, we've talked strategy, but underneath all of that is a philosophy, a mindset that changes absolutely everything about how you talk to people. It's all about the ultimate goal. And it starts with this unforgettable piece of advice. Put your nerves in a fridge. Emotional control is everything. It's the bedrock of a mature conversation. The second you get heated, the moment you lose your cool, you've lost. You might score a point with a clever comeback, but you've lost the real game. Staying calm is your superpower. There's this classic story about Winston Churchill that just perfectly captures this. He's on a narrow staircase, and a political rival blocks his path and sneers, "I don't make way for dogs." Instead of getting furious, Churchill just calmly steps aside, smiles, and says, "I do." He completely won that exchange, not with anger, but with pure, unshakable composure. So after all of this, after all the tools and all the strategies, what is the one thing? What is the single goal that matters more than anything else? The one that should guide every single important conversation you have? It's this. Winning hearts is infinitely more important than winning arguments. You can win a point, you can have the perfect comeback, you can destroy someone with facts and logic, and in doing so, you can completely destroy a relationship. That is not a victory. The real win, the thing that actually matters, is connection. And that requires a deep sense of humility. This quote from Imam el-Shafei captures it perfectly. It's this idea that, yeah, my opinion is correct, but it's also liable to be wrong. And my opponent's opinion, well, it seems wrong, but is liable to be correct. It's about remembering that you might not have the whole picture. So, in the end, it really all just boils down to a simple calculation. What's the cost? Losing an argument might cost you a little bit of pride for a few minutes. But a destroyed relationship? That can cost you a friend, a family member, a colleague, forever. The price is just way too high. You have to prioritize the person over the point every single time. So I'll just leave you with this to think about. The next time you find yourself heading into a tough conversation, ask yourself, what am I really trying to do here? Am I trying to win the argument, or am I trying to win the heart? The choice is yours. Thanks for tuning in.